you get clients are like, oh yeah, they're pregnant or they have their baby and they buy their first, let's say cottage or startup home. We're going to be here 5-7 years. And then when the kids get to 8, we're going to go to the burbs. And I'm always like, you're probably not. What's the 5 Ps? Do you remember it?
Proper preparation prevents poor performance.
There you go. It doesn't matter how much money we get. If we don't close, it's no money, right? So no close is no money. I'm everything that I am because of my dad's death. And I wouldn't be as successful without his death. All right, welcome to the Jason Theory. We are sitting here with one of our team members, Marissa. Marissa, why don't you give us a little bit, like a 1-minute spiel about yourself, and then we're going to get right into it.
My name is Marissa Lanzito. I've been in real estate for quite some time.
You can speak louder. No one's.
I can?
Yeah. Speak like you speak to me upstairs.
Simmer it down. I've been in real estate since like the early 2000s.
Okay.
In the city. I started out on the North Shore, actually, as an assistant to one of the...
Oh, I didn't know that.
I did, as one of the top agents up there. But I lived in the city, and then...
So you were going up to... Well, that's a little unusual.
It is unusual.
Yeah.
And then I came down to the city and came out on my own, and here we are.
Here you are.
Yeah.
When you went up to the city, when you went up to North Shore and was an assistant there, what were the differences when you got back into the city in terms of forget about North Shore, just a suburban real estate environment versus city? What are a couple main things? I mean, I have my ideas from doing it, like the main things, but what do you think they are?
I mean, I was so young at that time too, and real estate has taken on kind of a different trajectory from when I started, because when I started, it was like moms who, wanted a second, wanted to do something. It wasn't like a full-time, all the time powerhouse people in real estate at that point. So I went up there and it was different in the sense that things were always moving and shaking in the city, things were always going around. People don't meet people up there. We always meet our showings here.
Yeah.
Their scheduling is different. So I was just learning my ropes when I first started up there. So I know it's a little bit different, but I don't feel I have the full
Do you think the
capacity
suburban market is much more it's tougher to get leads and clients? Like most of the people that are up there, it's friends based. It's basically a lot more tighter in terms of there's not as much transactions, right? So you're killing for transactions.
Right. But I think that's changed in the past. I mean, certainly since the pandemic, right? So I guess before the pandemic, I would say yes. I think that is a true statement. But since the pandemic, the suburbs have blown up.
That's true.
So it's different now. But yeah, I think you're right. And it is because people come into the city when they're young and they're starting their careers, they have their first kid, and then they hightail it back to where they grew up. That's what happens in Chicago, right? So
that didn't happen to us.
It did not, and I love it, and I'm so grateful. But it did not. But most do, or a lot do.
What do you think the number one? If you were just cut through the BS, my thought, and I know this is kind of not nasty. Nasty is the wrong word. I always think, from what I've seen, most people leave the city that I know because they can't get into a district and they can't afford a house in a district they want to be in.
Yeah.
And they're like, we don't want to leave, but we have to because we can't afford to be in XYZ, which I now think, being in the suburbs, it's the same price.
Totally.
But do you think that's that's what I noticed the last 10 years? It was always hey, we can't be in Burley, Blaine, Coonley,
It's
Bell.
always, it was usually for the schools. Right?
Yeah.
People were leaving because of the schools.
And then they'd be like, oh, we're leaving because we want the yard. No, it
was always the schools.
It's the schools. It's the price point where you want to be.
100%.
Yeah, okay. That's always my thought. And people tell it to me I'm like, listen, your kid doesn't, I always tell people, your kid doesn't need a yard because by the time they're 12, you're not going to see them.
I know, right?
They're going to be living in a gymnasium, a field, and they're not going to be at your house.
No,
so
I agree.
I always tell people, if you want a yard, that's great, but make sure it's for you because you're the one that's going to mow it. You're the one that's going to like it. You're the one that's going to be outside getting bit by mosquitoes. Your kids are going to be, hopefully your kids are not sitting in your yard by themselves.
Yeah, no, kids come ring our doorbell. Like my kids are always out and about on their bikes, going to 7-Eleven, going to the parks, going to the bike park. I mean, they're out. Like they're never in our backyard.
So we're going to take a tangent then. Okay. So when you're at parties, and let's say you're at a suburban party, and you're there with your kids, and then there's suburban kids that are there, can you see the difference?
Oh gosh, I don't really go to suburban.
You're never
I'm
never get invited to like a cousin or an aunt or somebody, and you're like, and you take your kids to that space. You never.
I'm trying to think.
Like you've never had a mesh of like where you see like where there's suburban kids and city kids playing together, or there's like.
I think when I go to my parents' house, maybe there's like kids in the neighborhood that'll come from different areas, and then there are suburban from the city of Chicago. They're Chicago suburbs. Listen, I grew up in a bubble. Okay.
So next time you're in that situation, take a look around.
Yeah, I haven't noticed
the difference between the suburban kids and the city kids is night and day.
I can say from my growing up experience to my children, like my children are so much more assertive.
Yes.
They could get themselves around. And my husband.
The kids are going to the Cubs game today.
The kids are going to the Cubs game
at 12 years old.
At 12 years old by themselves. But like my husband grew up in the city and I grew up in the suburb, and he'll be like, Maris.
Okay, so you have that influence.
I already know it. I just like don't necessarily see my kids with it, but I compare them to myself because I'm like, oh my God, I don't think I'd be able to do that at their age when I was growing up. And they're like, okay, they know the street names. They know, and that's why I wanted to live in the city.
Yeah.
Is because like they can get themselves around. They know what streets they need to be on.
They're street smart.
Yes. Like, and we will walk around neighborhoods. Like we did this as when they were little, and we'd be like, all right, we're going on a walk. And then we would just stop and we'd be like, can you get us home? And so they would just try to maneuver around, and they'd make so many mistakes, and it would be great, but we'd be like, stop, look at what the street sign says and look at what the number says. And
it's
then,
a grid.
So yeah, it's the grid, and the grid is so easy to understand once you understand it.
Yeah.
And so we would just do that. And now, I mean, they're not perfect, but they can get themselves around.
Yeah. I mean, I see the difference a lot more when my kids were like between 7 and 10, maybe 6 and 8. Mm-hmm. Like I was like, wow. I'm like, what? Like the assertiveness you're saying, the outgoingness. Like in the city, like you go to a park within 5 minutes. Every kid at the park is your best friend.
Yes.
And you guys are putting together some sort of battle or some sort of game. Like that. I mean, it's nuts. Like when my kids come up to me like, we want this, 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 this. I'm like, well, see that guy over there? Just go ask him.
Yeah.
They're like, I would never have done that. Mm-hmm. They'll just turn around. No, they turn around and they go right to that person.
Yeah.
I'm like, what?
Yeah. No, it's great. And like, I don't know, we take our kids out to eat. Like we always have. We never let our kids slow us down. Even when they were babies, like we would take them everywhere. And so I love the assertiveness of the kids in the city. And I love the sports factor for us too in the city, because my kids will go to any park, just like you're saying, or they'll be somewhere and they'll be like, I know that kid from baseball, I know that kid from basketball. And
because so the proximity of the parks is so much closer. Mm-hmm. Like if you're in Hinsdale, the odds of you knowing a kid in Joliet or Lamont or the North Shore or wherever is a lot less. Mm-hmm. But when you're at Wells, listen, we're driving down the street and James will be like, we're walking and goes, oh, I know that kid, that kid, and that kid. Mm-hmm. I'm like, well, I met him at LPBA. He plays for Wells. This kid plays at Oz. Mm-hmm. This. I'm like, how do you know? And first off, how do you remember everybody's name?
I know.
And how do you know all these kids? I mean, it's great. And then you get to my oldest kid's age, and then they're all at the parks, and they're all, one plays at Lane, one plays at Peyton, one plays at Amundsen, one plays here at Lincoln Park, and they're all together, and they've all known each other for so long. So like, it's interesting because a lot of people are like, we want to go to a school system where they know the same people the whole time. And I always look at them, I go, that's not life.
Right.
That's not, they're going to have to get up and move and go to college and not know anybody and walk around and say, hey, my name is Jason Stratton. Who are you?
Totally.
And it's like, why not start that now?
But I also think there's like a false sense of no community in the city. And I don't think that's true. Like the neighborhood I live in is so community driven. And
that's North Center. That's like that.
Yes, it is like that. But like there are parts of Lincoln Square that are like that too, and there are parts of Lakeview that are like that too. So I just think it's nice that there's always people around. the kids are always
Yeah.
knowing
And your
somebody's going
school,
to-
even though you're
Yeah.
private, your
Yeah.
school draws primarily from
the
that
neighborhood.
area.
Yeah. Well, it's great too because like there's 2 schools in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
And so no matter if the kids are going to the public school or the private school, they're seeing each other
They're
walking
seeing each
to
other
and from.
walk around.
Everybody goes to Bell and plays in the park. Like
Yeah.
it's just everybody's
I think
intermingling.
like I mean, this wasn't my idea to go down this road. I think it's a great one because people don't know, like, when you have kids, first off, we have the most parks
we
in
have like
America.
over 600 parks.
In America.
Right.
There's more green space in Chicago than anywhere else. So suck it, everyone else. But these neighborhood parks are basically what everything revolves around. Like I was at Wells filming video yesterday, and there had to be 5,000 kids out there doing stuff. Pickleball. They have ring toss.
I know.
And I was like, everybody that plays ring toss is dead.
I know.
I mean, can they just change that?
I know.
It was bocce ball coming back.
I hope so.
But these communities is what you just said is like what's so amazing, and it's like, it's walking down. You think the city's big, it's not. You're walking down Southport Court with my kids, and they're waving at other 8-year-olds and 12-year-olds and 14-year-olds across the street that they know, right? Like the city is small, but I also think the city is small because our kids are in sports.
This is true. I agree.
Because the sports, like I would tell people, even if your kid is not sporty, get them involved in sport because it'll really connect them to the community.
I agree.
And the kids are like, listen, there's asshole kids, but most of the kids are very accepting of whatever talent level you are, and that gets you wrapped up into that space.
Totally. I mean, I can't tell you how many hours I have logged at Wells Park. But what I also love about it too is that, so we spend a lot of time because our kids are playing, but there are also, like, we'll be walking or we'll be sitting there and I'll see some of my neighbors that come to the park and their kids are all grown now. And they're like, we miss it so much. And they come and watch like our kids, or they just come and watch a game because they're like, we miss it so much. And we were just out for a walk and like, here we are sitting at the park.
Oh my God.
I think it's great.
I'm really good friends with an ex-Hamlin coach who also played professional baseball. And we lost in the championship game. And I'm sitting in my bed at like, Monday night at 9 trying to simmer down. And he just starts texting me. I miss it. I'm ready to coach again. He doesn't have, and I was like, dude, you need go adopt a child. Go adopt. And he's like, when does fall ball start? He's like, I want to be part of this. I want to do this. I want to do this. I want to do this. And I'm like, dude, you're a professional baseball player. I would love to have you at any point, but you miss it. Like, this is the last year that I'll coach in the outfield, right? Because my 8-year-old's now going up. And it's like, man, I'll never be yelling defensive sets again. So, but it is great. I think people really misinterpret how amazing the city is for kids.
Oh, I totally agree.
And how close-knit it is and how there's always something to do. And man, to go down Monroe and be able to watch a Bulls game from 15 minutes in any neighborhood in the city, or go to Wrigley every other day, tickets, because they're good, tickets are getting expensive, but you can still buy a ticket day of, an hour beforehand for $20 and for 2 hours sit in one of the most glorious places in the world. It's
great. Like, one of my biggest values is spontaneity. Like, I love it for that fact. Like, opening day came, I'm married to Southsider, so my kids and my husband are Sox fans, and I grew up on the north side, so I'm a Cubs fan. But they're Chicago fans, right? And so like opening day came, and they're like, and Mike calls me and he's like, "Do you want to pull the kids out of school today?" And I'm like, "All right, fine."
Every year I do.
And so we just pulled them out. We didn't tell them. They didn't know. I'm like, they're getting pulled out. They were like so nervous when I picked them up.
And it wasn't freezing this year.
No, because they thought they had to go to the doctor and get shots. And they were like, "Where are we going?" And
you should have like pulled up to the dentist and then just.
And I'm like, it's opening day. Where do you think we're going? So I love that. And I love, like, we don't have anything going on, which is a rarity on a weekend. Like, we'll just be like, let's go have dinner downtown. And then we love going to like a hotel and sitting in the lobby and having cocktails and playing cards with our kids. Like, there's so much to do. Even the lakefront. Like, it's so fun just to go jump in and then go on about your day. Like, I don't know. I just think it's great. Like, where are you going to walk a half a mile and be in Wrigley Field, and then
where are you going to walk?
Where
are you going to walk 3 miles and hit 3 different neighborhoods with 3 different like feelings? Like, everyone's like, oh, I can go to this place in the suburbs, this. I'm like, yeah, you can drive 30 minutes and go to different neighborhoods. Here we walk 5 minutes and we're at different neighborhoods.
Yeah.
I just think that people, like, especially, I'm sure, you get clients are like, oh yeah, they're pregnant or they have their baby and they buy their first, let's say, cottage or like, startup home. We're going to be here 5-7 years. And then when the kids get to 8, we're going to go to the burbs. And I'm always like, you're probably not.
Right. I mean, you don't have to.
You don't have to. But like, what is your attrition rate? Like, how many families do you lose to the suburbs? I don't lose a lot.
I mean, well, now I feel like it's different because I'm ingrained in my neighborhood and in schools and in sports. And if you're in the sports
you're
and
not
in
leaving.
School, you're not leaving. So
Yeah.
so I'm not losing that
Maybe
many.
that's what my vision is too. And maybe that's why I don't lose anybody either. But it's 1 out of 10 at most.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree with that.
People make it work. They're like, listen, this is our price point. We're not leaving the city. Let's
figure it out.
Let's figure it out. Let's make it work.
I mean, there's so many neighborhoods to choose from, So, and as these neighborhoods that are closer in get more expensive, people are pushing out, and so then the neighborhoods get better and better and better.
Yeah, you go right by the split. You're at Jefferson Park, Norwood Park. All these places are
great.
exploding. I mean, Saguenash has always been nice.
It's always been nice. Yeah.
So, but you have these neighborhoods on that north side that are just the Blue Line or the Metra, or you can avoid, the split and take Elson and Little come down. What neighborhoods have you been active? I mean, I know you are North Center and you walk the streets there and you love that area.
I do.
But where are people that you see and new neighborhoods that you've gone to and have been like, wow, this is really nice?
Portage Park, I think, is really nice.
Very nice.
I love it there.
Yes.
I love their park. They have the cutest coffee shop across the street from their park. And I discovered it a little bit more because Wells Park had grubs.
Yeah, the grubs thing was crazy. Where'd you guys play?
So we were all over. I mean, but we were in Portage Park a lot that year. And so I was like, this is the cutest neighborhood. I think Mayfair is really cute. Old Irving is great. Like, there are so many places just west that are really nice. Saguenash has always been, a great neighborhood. So I also love Lincoln Square. I moved from Lincoln Park. Mike and I moved from Lincoln Park to Lincoln Square when we first had James, and we stayed in Lincoln Square for a while. I mean, we were on a huge lot there, and I love Lincoln Square. It's wonderful. And then we moved a little bit south into North Center. And so I really love it there. I love Ravenswood Manor.
Yeah,
There's little pockets.
They're all around the L. Like wherever the little L stop is, like you're just like, you have these little communities that are growing from it. It's really cool. There's so many neighborhoods. You're like, oh my God, like I never like been there. But I was in Portage Park last week because I have a couple clients out there and I was visiting them. And the Six Corners now has like a massive Target with apartments. There's another apartments on the other side. There's an Aldi. There's Chipotle. Northwestern opened up a huge
they did.
like hospital spot there. That neighborhood is really popping.
I love it there. I think it's great. They have great sandwich.
And there's good value there too.
There is.
My clients bought their house there like a year and a half ago for like, it's nice on 30 wide. It was like $330 grand.
And in fact, there's great bungalows there.
Yeah.
They're great.
And if you're willing just to put a little bit of work into it, and there's a lot of equity you can get.
I agree.
And if you do our work in the suburbs, you're kind of halfway between both. I mean, it's a little bit, you kind of avoid a little bit of the traffic.
Yes, absolutely.
So switch gears a little bit. So that's the kids. Parents, you don't have to leave. That's the underlying thing.
Yeah, don't have to.
So we're almost at the year mark for the change in the NAR settlement. Any changes that you've seen that like any pushback on people signing, like has anything really changed?
No.
I think it's made our job easier.
I kind of like it.
I love it.
I think I was a little nervous at first just because it was something new. I think it's another piece of paper.
Yeah.
But it has made me sit down and think like, what value am I bringing? And how I'm going to express to my client the value that I am bringing. And that has only made me better.
Yeah, and on top of it, it's like you're getting someone right off the bat. Like if someone doesn't want to sign or someone doesn't want to do this, it's like, okay, that's fine. I'm going to dedicate my time to someone else.
Yeah.
So it sets that precedent that, hey, I'm your agent. And I love the fact that you're saying, hey, listen, this is what I get paid. So now you know what I'm getting paid.
Right.
Here's the contract, just so you see it. I showed them the contract. Here's it on the line.
Yep.
Nothing's really changed. I'm just letting you know up front versus it being on the back end. So I think it's been great.
It's fine. I agree. Like everything up front is always better. Just in the transparency. Like when you
never have like a weird conversation.
No, and and if it is going to be weird for you, at least you're getting it out of the way in the beginning. And just nobody has really had a pushback on it. Everybody just kind of thinks of it the same way. It's just I have one extra step, and it's one initial.
How are you dealing with it on the listing agreement where it says, this is what my fee is, this is how it is if someone comes basically from an open house I've never met, and this is if it's mine? Do you go through all that with you? Are you getting any pushback on that?
I do go through all of it because it's spelled out literally on the contract, which I like. I am not getting pushback on it. No one, I don't want to say that nobody cares.
Everybody knows.
But they're all like, okay, that's fine.
They're always like, everyone says to me, well, isn't that how it's always been? I'm like, I just need to.
Yes. And they're like, oh, that's so silly. And I'm like, okay. And one of my clients, she was so funny. It was just when it changed. And I was like, listen, I need you to sign this, whatever. And she's like, oh, I didn't know how it worked before. I don't care how it works now. You're going to do a great job. It's fine. And I'm like, okay.
Nice.
And so I was like, went through this whole rigmarole. And she's like, yeah, I don't care. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah, you're like, I was really nervous the first couple times.
For sure.
And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, this is... And I'm like, man, I should have done this years ago.
I know. And, in different parts, I have my Wisconsin license, and they always sign the buyer agreements up front. Always. They always have.
So I have a buyer from Florida that we got on Instagram, and she flew up, and I was like, hey, this is, I'm sitting down, and I'm like, all right, I go, this is what the buyer agreement's like. I'm like, I'm all ready. And she's like, yeah, this is what we've been doing in Florida for years.
For years.
She goes, this is, you guys, and then she goes, you guys never did this? I'm like, well, we had buyer's agreements, but we didn't list out the fees. Yeah. She's like, no, we've been like this forever.
No, like my sister sold up there, and I sold here, and so we'd always compare notes, and she'd be like, what are you doing going and doing that? I'm like, we don't do that here, we didn't.
Yeah.
And she's like, I would never do that. And I was like, well, we just work differently here. It's not customary for us to do that here.
I had one person, and he was a little bit of a stickler, and I was just like, listen, man, I'm like, I can't help you then.
Yeah.
If you don't want a son's thing, I can't help you. And then we're in the car, and he's like, what happens if you just disappear? And I said, what do you mean? Like, you just stop working. And I'm like, first off, I have a family.
Right.
I have kids. Your family's all used me. I'm like, do you think I'm just going to get up and leave?
Right.
I'm like, that's not how this works. I go, and anyways, you can fire me at any time. It's just the places I've shown you. But that's the only person. And the apprehension was like these crazy one-offs.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, what happens if you get sick? What happens if you get hurt?
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, you could just, it's not for life.
I know.
Yeah. It was nuts. All right. Yeah. So both of us had the same experience. What this year, over the last 6 or 7 months, what changes have you seen from buyers and sellers? Is it, we've talked about funny stories. Have you seen, I see less, I will tell you, I see less unrepresented people.
Yes, I do.
Ton. Which is fantastic. It makes our job easier. Yes. No one actually wants to be dual agent for people out there. It's not worth, the money's not worth the aggravation or the lawsuits.
Right.
What stuff have you seen? Have you seen, because it's such a seller side, have you seen buyers get agitated more? What are the things that you're seeing on the buy side?
The buy side's been tough.
Yeah.
We've written lots of contracts for lots of people, and they haven't gotten them. I think there's a certain amount of frustration out there, but I also think it's been really educational for, I have this one client right now where we've gotten outbid a bunch of times, and she's just like, I'm not going to go up. I know, what you're going to do, where your thresholds are. And I think that's really important, because sometimes it's easy to get lost in the competition of the multiple offer. And so I think it's been great, because the buyers that I've been working with are like, no, I'll be fine if I don't get it. I know this is my threshold. This is my ending point, and I can walk away and we can move on to the next one.
You have a game plan.
Yeah, there has to be.
Yeah.
You cannot go into these situations without a game plan and a strategy. You cannot.
So if you have somebody that has multiple areas they're interested in, are you trying to get them down into one area versus spreading out? Because everything sells so quick. If you're looking, I don't know if I want to be in Wicker Park or North Center or Roscoe Village, I'm like, you're not going to get anything.
No, I know. And I'm like, you go out, go have dinner, go walk around, go walk through open houses.
Where do you see yourself?
Like, where are you comfortable? You have to have like a top 2 or something like that, because otherwise we're going to be crisscrossing the city, not like.
And everything's just going to sell.
Everything's going to sell.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? So, but most of them are pretty narrowed in on where they want to be. I really haven't encountered a client recently that's been like, I want these 10 neighborhoods. And you're like, okay. But
you're mostly dealing, are you mostly dealing with people right now that are in like their third home? Like close to, not the forever home, I don't think there's one, but like
third.
You're like, so they're like, I've already done the city. This is where I want to hone in. Are most of your clients, do most of your clients have children or
Many.
So they kind of know. They're not like willy-nilly. They don't have that ability to be, hey, I'm going to check this city out in this part and this part and this part.
No.
On the sell side, I know, you've just got multiple offers on a place on Waveland. People think multiple offers are great, but multiple offers are almost worse than just getting one offer.
It's tough.
And what are the conversations when you're sitting down with people, with sellers, and saying, hey, here's all the offers we have. And we have to pick you don't want to mess up.
Right. Well, I think you have to also know that it's not your decision. Like, I am not deciding for my clients, right? It is a collaboration, and you are here to advise, and your clients are here to make the decisions, right? So you have to put all of the facts in front of them. And I think there's like a misconception out there sometimes, maybe not so much any longer, where it's like the highest price is always going to win.
No.
And that's not the case. It is not the case. Like, if you have not so strong financing, or you have financing in this market, it's just, there are other terms of the contract that are just as important, and maybe sometimes more important than the price. Or like if the moving date's really important to your sellers, and somebody can't provide that, then,
I think what you just said is the biggest thing, because I think so many people got into the market. So many agents got into the market in 21 and 22 when the market was crazy. And now 24, 25, buying agents that don't have experience don't know how to write an offer that will win. They don't. They just don't.
And listen, things change every year too. And that's why I think it's so important to have friends and colleagues that you trust, that you can speak with. Because like Sophia called me the other day, and she was like, or the other week, and was like, oh my God, the smartest thing just came across in an offer. And
she
told me, and I was like, that was really smart.
Yeah.
And I used it, you know? And so I think it's great because things are constantly moving, and what was important before in the marketplace is not going to always win in this marketplace. So like, to have more ideas, to know how to be better at what you're doing is huge.
Yeah. I had a person that was a person I follow, and he was like, and the suburbs are different than the city, but his comment was, I don't understand why earnest money is so important. And he was upset that he lost out on a place. He was on my podcast too before, that he lost out on a place and he had earnest money. In the back of my head, man, I was just like, dude, that's like one of the first things I look at. How committed are you?
Right.
You're putting 20% down, or you're putting 30% down, or your cash, but your earnest money is 1%.
I'm like, what are you doing?
What are you doing?
I have to go,
You have no skin in the game. You got to go?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I have to go to my appraisal.
All right, so what I kind of really want to get into is kind of where we just left off with Marissa, because she had to run to an appraisal because she's rocking and rolling, is the issues that buying agents are having right now and sellers are having in terms of the marketplace being so quick, and on top of it having a lack of inventory. And I think the biggest issue that a lot of agents are having on the buy side is not really knowing what is important to the seller, and that is post-possession. In other words, are you offering the ability for the seller to stay in the house after they close, to take their money and then go ahead and buy something, because that's very difficult now to have any type of contingency, sale contingency, and the earnest money and the ability, the as is, that people are committed to the product. I think right now there are so many multiple offers that are coming in. Right now, the city of Chicago has 3 offers per single family home that's sold. Does your offer provide the most seamless transaction for the seller. And I think that is something that right now is the most important thing when we're talking about buying and selling single family homes. It's not the price that Marissa brought up. It's the ability to be seamless. It's the ability to not have stress. That's what sellers are looking for, because the pricing is plus or minus a couple points at the most. Everyone's going over asking, or they're at asking, or they're at a great price. So it's not the fact that, oh my God, this offers $40,000 or $50,000 more than this offer. It's this offers 5 more, this offers 7 more, this offers 6 less. But the stress that it's putting on the seller and the family is worth that lower price. And I think that is a massive part of what's going on in this marketplace and will continue to go on. So another thing that I would tell that we're seeing a lot of is, obviously, when there are multiple showings, agents are, this is a huge thing too, agents, especially on the sell side, they're taking mental notes of all the buyers, right? So not only do we have 3 or 4 offers, as is, cash is, over asking, an agent is very much looking at not only the buying agent and the reputation that buying agent has is massive. Does this person cancel a lot? Do they have relationships with their sellers? Their buyers? Do they know their buyers? Are they able to get through a transaction and hold their buyer accountable to the contract? What I mean by that is do I know that this agent's as is really an as is? Do I know that this cash buyer is really cash, or is he hiding some sort of loan? The reputation of that buying agent is a massive part. We break that down, right? So like when you're with somebody who does not have a lot of doesn't have a reputation or doesn't have a lot of reps, I'm not taking anything away from that newer agent. But when a newer agent is up against veteran agents that we've done deals with, that we know are going to get to the closing table, that is a huge thing. On the buying end, when you're at a house and you're a buyer, trashing the house or being extremely, lack of a better word, odd, could cost you the house. Because when we sit down and talk about it, the first thing the seller's going to do is like, hey, tell me about, did they like the house? Did they not like the house? What was their thing? So that, have you done deals with this agent? Have you not done deals with this agent? The seller's going to want all that data so that they can make the right decision. Reason being is, in this market, if you don't make the right decision and you do fall out of contract, 3 weeks is an eternity now. So I know the average days right now is like 33, 35. It bounces in the mid 30s, but that also includes condos. And that does sometimes include some time that you're contingent. But if you're not off the market within 7 days, right away, buyers are like, what's wrong? And that's the most important thing that sellers need to know, is that if you're going on the market that first week, you get multiple offers, you got to make sure that purchase, that thing that you picked, that buyer you picked, that they're going to make it. Because the minute you go off the market, it's what's wrong with the building, what's wrong with the inspection. Everyone's going to go different ways, and then you start losing that urgency on the property. And in sales, urgency is what creates that price action, right? So you've got to have that urgency to create that upper price point and create people battling for that space. So I think that's a really huge thing in the marketplace right now that I think buyers and sellers need to know is, first off, as a buyer, go into the place, don't trash the place. If you think you're trash the place because it's going to help you negotiate, it's not, because there's 5 other offers, right? So be cordial. As a buyer's broker, you always want to let people know the relationship you have with that buyer, how good that buyer is. A lot of times now, you go to contract or you don't go to contract, you send in your contract, have the mortgage broker make a phone call. The mortgage broker for your buyer should make a phone call to the listing agent and say, hey, listen, let me tell you about this buyer. They're well qualified. I ran them through underwriting. Everything's set. You're not going to have issues. All that stuff matters because all that data points are going to come back to the seller. The seller, on the same token, needs to look at everything and say, hey, what's more important? First and foremost, always, whenever you have a non-contingent offer, as is without inspection, that's the number one thing, right? Because that means the attorney review period is going to be solely based on title work, make sure everything is clean. If there's leases on a multi-unit, the leases are done right? But it's as is. That means what? There's going to be no acts for credits and there's no outs. That's a huge thing. There's as is with request, as is without request, which means they want to do an inspection. They still have the ability to cancel, but they're telling you, hey, we're as is. To me, this is, lack of a better word, this is a gentleman's agreement. And as is without requests with inspection means they're still going to go to the place. If they don't like something, they could still cancel. So you still have that barrier. And then obviously you have cash and then you have mortgages. Most people now know that they can get a loan. So they'll say that they're cash with the ability to get a mortgage. I would tell sellers and agents, hey, if you do get this, the thing I would tell you to do is do not let the appraiser in until you're out of your attorney review. A lot of agents will say, hey, we're going to be cash with ability to get a mortgage, so we don't need a mortgage contingency, and they'll try to sneak in the appraisal during their attorney review period so that then they can turn around and they can cancel on you. So wait. Someone just tried to do this to me last week. I said, listen, I have no problem getting the appraiser in. As soon as I have balance of earnest money and we've closed out the review, you can go ahead and do the appraisal because that's protecting your client to the nth degree. And all we want to do on the buy side and the sell side is protect the client. I will tell someone that is looking and starting their search and you're searching online and you have not reached out to an agent yet, first and foremost, you definitely should reach out to an agent. I myself think that, if it's going to be the biggest purchase in your life, it is good to have somebody next to you that even if they're not the greatest agent everywhere, they're not partial. They're not going to be emotional. Our job is to not be emotional. You're the one that loves the property. You're the one that'll get emotional to the property. We can step back and be rational, right? So there's always two parts to everything you do in life. It's your brain and your heart. Unfortunately, when your heart overtakes your brain, you make irrational decisions. You want the brain to always overpower the heart. Let the heart take you to the house you love, but then click on that brain. That agent should be your brain. Your agent should be the non-emotional part of it, keeping you together on, hey, listen, this is what's good and this is what's bad with the property. The agent's job is not to tell you what you love. I think that's a big misconception. When I meet with a new client, the first thing I say is, my job isn't to tell you what you love. My job is to tell you what's wrong with the property when I sell it to the next person, right? Every property should have an exit philosophy. So anything you get into at some point you're going to sell, is this property sellable? Is what's happening in this neighborhood, the demographics in this neighborhood, when I mean demographics, how it's changing, is it going this way, is it going that way, is it getting to an older, is it going younger? Like, how is your piece of property going to appreciate with the changes that are going to occur in that area over the next 10 years? This is the main point that agents should be making with their buyers. Where is the direction of the neighborhood and how is that going to affect your largest investment? So you may love a space and I may say to you, hey, I love this space too, but these are the downfalls of this space. That doesn't mean the agent's telling you not to buy it. And I tell that to my client. I'm not telling you not to buy the space. I'm just telling you these are going to be the pitfalls when we go to sell it. Now, are these pitfalls small? Are they big? Can they be changed? Can we make changes to the house or the condo that fixes that? Are the pitfalls that are pitfalls now are now not going to be pitfalls in 5 or 6 years? So are you buying something that maybe is at a discount now, but will be at a premium later? I mean, that's the golden standard. That's what you want to do. You want to buy low and sell high. Like, our job as agents is to say, hey, listen, I love, this street you're at, like, right? So Sophia and I moved to Bucktown in 97, 98. What Bucktown was then was not what it was now. But we knew, hey, in 10 years, this is where it's going to be. Let's go ahead and buy a house. Even though everyone was buying lofts and condos, we want to do this because this is where we think that space is going to. That's what an agent's main thing is to keep the brain engaged in where things are going And do you have the ability to sell this house? I think a huge mistake, and this is an example, is a huge mistake people make is a lot of people want stuff that's bright and shiny. Everybody wants the shiny toy. However, a lot of people will forego neighborhood for a shiny toy. My advice to everyone is something is shiny only in the beginning. In 3 or 4 years, it's going to be old. And I don't mean incredibly old, but it's not going to be new construction. And when it's not shiny and new, are you in a neighborhood? Are you in an area that now that it's not shiny and new, it still holds its value, right? Or do you want to be in a neighborhood where it's not shiny and new, but it's a great neighborhood and you can take it to shiny and you can take it to new, you can renovate, and all of a sudden you're in an amazing area with a house that's now relevant. So you just really have to make sure that the age-old saying, location, location, location. You just got to make sure that the decisions that you make are made intelligently and that you understand in 5 or 6 years what your piece of property is going to be, because that is the main thing, that investment is moving to the upside. Now, there's always going to be downturns in the market. That's just how it is. But does that downturn, are you going further down than the average? Or are you in a neighborhood and in a house that, quote unquote, nothing's recession proof, but are you taking a 2 or 3 or 5% hit, but those people that wanted a shiny home in the outskirts are now taking a 15% hit? So those are the things that you really have to look at. And I think that is when you really have to feel about, hey, this is your price point. This is where you can afford to live, where you are not the best house on the block, but you're making a wise decision. And not everybody wants to make that decision. I don't talk everybody out of being on that shiny house in that outskirt area. The thing is that you have to communicate to that client and say, hey, listen, and as a buyer, you have to know, I'm taking that risk by going to that area, knowing that I have a high return and a high loss probability, right? Because without a lack of word, the delta, the up and down in that area is greater than other areas, right? So you really want to think about that as a selling agent so you can give advice, as a buying agent so you can give advice, and as a buyer so you can give advice. So every buyer should really be thinking about their exit strategy before they buy their house, right? And that exit strategy is where your agent comes in and overruns your heart and comes in with the mind. I can tell you for positive, the biggest problems I ever have is when I get hired by a person and I go to their house and I see what they paid and the neighborhood they're in and the type of inventory they're in. And the hardest things I have selling to keep them afloat are always the people that went and bought by their own. I'm not saying it can't be done, but statistically speaking, you're probably going to have a high failure rate versus hiring somebody that puts you in a position that separates the heart from the mind and keeps you focused on the investment side of it and where the neighborhood's going versus when you walk into a house and just love the house. Those are the main things that I'm seeing, especially in this market where people are paying a lot of money for homes and there's a lot of multiple offers. Yeah, a house is worth what they're willing to pay. That is the supply and demand of it. But when it settles down and the dust settles, are you in a place that can hold that comp that you set? If you're buying something at a new high, can that comp be held? Or is there a bottom to it because you're the nicest place in that area? That is going to be the most important thing moving forward over the next couple of years is, are you making a smart investment or are you making a heart investment just because something speaks to you, which it should, but you have to make sure that at the same time you keep your brain focused on it. I could also say the other thing I'll leave you with too in this marketplace is stay to relevant data. What I mean about that is, I'll give you an example. What somebody paid in 2018 for a house has no bearing whatsoever than what it's worth in 2005. Having that data in your head is, I think people just want to know that because they think they should know that, but absolutely irrelevant. You want to stay on the relevant facts. I really don't care what they paid for something in 2018 and 2025. The relevant data is, what is somebody going to pay for this house in 2030 when I leave? That's what's relevant. And does this have the ability to get to where I think it's going to be in 5 or 6 or 7 years? The past is trailing. It's behind us. It really doesn't matter at that wide of a spread. It's too long of a time. Now, what they pay last year, that could be somewhat relevant, but something 5, 6, 7 years down the line is completely irrelevant. And when you are doing research and you are collecting data before you reach an agent, make sure that data collection is, like I said, is relevant to where it's at. Where's the highways? Where's the schools? Where's the high road? Is there coffee shops? Are there restaurants? Are you walking the neighborhood? Do you know the type of demographic that's in that neighborhood? And do you think that type of demographic would love to buy your house in 5 years or 6 years or 7, whenever you're leaving, be it 10? That is relative data. That's stuff that is relative to you and what you want to do. The lifestyle that you want to leave, the lifestyle that you want to live in that area is the relevant data versus what something traded for 10 years ago. Now, you can sit there and look at historical stuff and say, man, how Bucktown has done great, Roscoe Village has done great, all these areas have done great. Yeah, that's awesome. But it's also irrelevant to what the price of that house is from where it was 7 years ago. You just know you're in an upward swing. We all know since the mortgage meltdown in 08 to 11, we've been in an upward swing. And over the last 4 years, it's been a rocket ship. I mean, Chicago itself is appreciated 4 times the national average just this year alone. Chicago has a lack of inventory. When you have a lack of inventory and you have a major city that is relatively inexpensive to the coasts, you're always going to have demand. And when you have that demand, you don't have supply, pricing is always going to go up. It's a scarce resource. It's always going to go up. So those are the things I can leave you with, what I've noticed in 2025 in terms of picking out an agent, what that agent should be doing to you, and keeping yourself relevant on what is relevant and what's not relevant when you shop. And Marissa getting into, the city is an unbelievable place to raise a family. I have 3 boys myself. Most people know that. I have one that's almost 18. I have one that's 14. I have one that's almost 9. I couldn't be happier being here. I couldn't be happier with the relationships that they have. I couldn't be happier. It'd be crazy. I couldn't be happy with the teachers that they have in the CPS. We've had great experiences in that realm too. And I would just tell you, you don't have to leave. It's just a different lifestyle that I think people really will like once you have that 1 or 2 or 3 years with a child in the city. So right when you decide to have kids, give it a chance, let that incubate, feel how amazing the city is and the energy is and how your kids really wrap into that energy. And then I think you'll be surprised that you're not going to want to leave and that you're going to enjoy what the city has to offer you and your family if you decide to go that route. Thanks so much for listening to us. You can find us on all the platforms, YouTube too. Make sure you subscribe so you get our new videos when they come out and our new podcast. And thanks again. And let's finish off summer strong.